My name is Gwyneth, and I'm concerned about the federal government's overreach, especially the Department of Justice and the FBI. How will you and President Trump help control the out-of-control federal government?
That is a very big question, and here's the simple principle that's going to guide President Trump and I when it comes to the administration of justice. Equal justice under law. It's very simple. You don't go after people. You don't go after people because they disagree with you. You don't try to throw a pro-life father of 7 in prison because he dared to protest. You don't throw a parent. You don't have the FBI go after them at a school board meeting because they showed up to peacefully do what parents ought to do, which is speak up on behalf of their kids. That's the fundamental principle. I think the question is then how do you apply that principle in practice? Here's one thing that I'll say. The most important job, this is a bit of a hit to get my ego, but the most important job after President of the United States in the next administration is not me, it's who we select as Attorney General. You need an Attorney General who believes in truth and justice under law. And look, I think we've got a lot of good candidates. It's one of the reasons why, by the way, when we get Dave McCormick elected senator from the state when we make that nomination, when President Trump nominates an Attorney General, we want to make sure that person can get confirmed. Right? And that's a really important part. But here's what you then have to do. Because let's be honest, Merrick Garland, I think, is one of the most corrupt AGs we've ever had in this country. But it's not just Merrick Garland. Right? There are some people that clearly report to Merrick Garland. I had this conversation probably about a year ago with a field officer in the FBI. And he came up to me and said, look, sir, we're trying to do the right thing. You've got a lot of great law enforcement people at the FBI. But he's like, the leadership of our agency is so broken that you've got to clean house. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to... When we say drain the swamp, I mean, look, just go back a few years ago. You had the entire government. You had an impeachment, a fake impeachment, that was completely oriented around the idea that Donald Trump was in bed with a foreign government. We all remember that, the Russia scam, okay? That scam was a complete lie. And even the independent Justice Department investigator basically said this is all completely made up. But here's the problem. They admit that it was made up. They admit that it distracted this country. It led to a fake impeachment. How many people have been fired from that? 0. And here's what President Trump and I are going to do when we get in there. We're going to fire the people who are responsible. That's what we've got to do. If you're not willing to do that, then you have no business running this country. Luckily, we've got a guy in Donald Trump who is.
Record it so we can see what it looks like when we fire them? And is it the fire? What does this look like?
He does actually like to do that. He does. One of the reasons he's one of the more famous people in the world is because he got famous firing people. And it's funny, you know, that's the kind of person you actually want cleaning house in Washington, because go back to the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, okay? And you know, it's so sad. Because these are, young people at the prime of their life. They're the very best of us. They put on the uniform, and of course 13 of them lost their lives. And I've talked to a lot of the families, the moms and the dads and sisters of these beautiful young Americans, and you know what they'll tell you? They're not even that, of course they're sad, but they're not angry that they lost their loved ones. What they're angry about is the lack of accountability to have back their lives. And we have to ask ourselves, and I had to fact check this because I couldn't believe it. How many, in the Department of Defense bureaucracy, senior leadership, how many people got fired after that disaster withdrawal? I mean, to people, especially those watching at home, who just want their government to function and work properly, you can't do that unless you're willing to fire the people who screw up. And that is what I think President Trump will do. As you said, Sage, she really likes to do the "you're fired" thing. And, you know, maybe we can even like turn a TV show into it, right? We'll just bring in the most corrupt people in the federal government, and we'll let Donald Trump do his thing. We'll clean house, and we'll make the people's government work for the people.
Great on social media. Hashtag BTS behind the scenes, like take a step there and see it. The A word, and you know what? Hey, accountability as a parent.
Yes.
You can't. You're not going to have normal kids, good human beings and adults without accountability. So if we're expecting it from our children and our employers, we have to expect it at the top. That's why there's no trust, because there has been no accountability.
That's exactly right.
So I think the trust thing, and I've felt that a lot, and sometimes it's regardless of who's in office, right? What are the essential, or maybe the most immediate ways to rebuild that trust? Draining the swamp, number one. What else?
Yeah, so can I tell you a story? A good friend of mine made this observation about federal bureaucrats once. He said, you know, most people, when they lie to you, they'll just say, well, no, that's not what I said, or, you know, they'll kind of try to distract from it, or they'll try to avoid it. But our federal officials will do what toddlers do, which is when you say, hey, you did that thing, they won't try to distract from it, they'll say, no, I didn't, you did. And I'll give you an example. So I'm a baker. I don't know if you knew this. I'm a big, you know, my son and I, my 4-year-old in particular, you know, we like to bake a lot of stuff. So I was making cookies with him a couple weeks ago. I mean, you know, cinnamon rolls, chocolate chip scones, that's what we made. But we were actually making an Oreo cake. So like a cake that had little chunks of Oreos in it. So I go to the bathroom, wash my hands, come back, and we had like 4 Oreos sitting there, and then we have 2 Oreos. I'm not an expert at math, but something doesn't add up here. And so I looked at my 4-year-old and I said, buddy, did you eat an Oreo you weren't supposed to? He said, I didn't eat it, you did. And that's how our federal leaders lie, right? And it's like, you ask people, this is why I bring this up in the context of this question is, you go to somebody at the Defense Department and say, you screwed up the withdrawal from Afghanistan, they'll say, no, it wasn't, it was you. Wait a second, we weren't in power, brother. We were nowhere near the Oval Office when these decisions were made, or the Pentagon, and this is the shamelessness. And I've seen this in the context of the Afghanistan withdrawal, which happened like 2 years after Biden and Harris took over. They would say, well, it's Donald Trump's fault. What? That's like my son saying, I didn't eat the Oreos, you did. Yeah. It's the craziest thing. But this is what they do, and you've got to just be willing. What drain the swamp really means, you asked about that, what it really means is you investigate failure and you have accountability. Now sometimes people screw up, you give a second chance, but you don't give them like a 9th chance. And what we've got to do is investigate failure again, and when people require it, fire the people who keep screwing up. It's the only way we're going to turn around.